Welcome everyone to the MDM Show. I am your co-hostess, Donna Whittington, and tonight, boy, every night seems like you got to fasten your seatbelts, and today you definitely have to fasten your seatbelts. We've got a lot going on today and with this show, with our guest tonight, so let's go ahead and get started. First of all, folks, make sure you have your water. You should know by now on the show that you should have water. Always have your water. A couple things that we have going on. First of all, we're going to help someone. We did that last Sunday, and if you were on the show, we worked with Carla. And so tonight, here's our opportunity to help someone again. Here's the deal. You have to get it in the chat, in the YouTube chat or the Google Plus chat, or if you're on Facebook. But it's the very first person that can type in 3 sentences or less about what's going on with you so that we can focus on you tonight, okay? So definitely do that. Other things that we have going on, we've got a sale tonight. We're going to do a sale on the 12th project. So tonight we're doing the 12th project bundle. It's the software, and guess what, folks? It is 30% off. So the code is 30 off show. All right, so you'll want to go to the website after the show is over, unless you can multitask. 30 off show, and then what you'll get when that 4th version comes out, you will get that upgrade free. So it's the 12th project. All right, and then of course Peter's going to talk a little bit later about a workshop that we have coming up on the 27th. It is on relationships and love. So definitely something you'll definitely want to check out. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Now I want to bring up Dr. David Kamnitzer. Talk a little bit about David before I bring up my co-host and, of course, the producer of the Modern Day Mystic Show. Before I bring up Peter and Dr. David, let me tell you a little bit about Dr. David. Dr. David Kamnitzer is a radical healer, teacher, and guide. His encounter with Werner Earnhardt, in 1975 catalyzed a profound awakening that continues to unfold this day. In the late 1970s, when Dr. David discovered he had a natural gift for healing, he began to combine this gift with spiritual understanding. He is currently focused on empowering those who sense a deep calling to uplift and make a difference in their lives, families, groups, and communities through individual group work, public speaking, writing, and his groundbreaking podcast, Freeing the Body, Freeing the Soul. Dr. David lives in San Jose, California. He assists people in person locally and all over the world via Skype. So let's go ahead and bring on Peter, and let's go ahead and bring on Dr. David. Take it away, Peter.
Thanks, Donna. Hi, everyone. Dr. David, thank you for being on the MDM show. So we've had a couple conversations in the past, and we briefly touched on, some of the things that you've been working on over the years. And, one of the questions in my mind has always been, we touched on it during our initial phone conversation, was your kinship with water. Briefly during the pre-show, you were explaining a little bit about your background and what you've been doing, and you started talking about creating a product that you could use either to heal people with water or to program water. And obviously tonight there's going to be a lot of inquiring minds that really want to get into the guts of what you're working on, what you have been working on, and where you are today with it. So without further ado, over to you, David.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks, Donna. It's good to be with you and to be with your tribe today. Yeah, my love of water goes way, way back. One of my earliest memories as a child was that sometimes my mother used to take me for walks, and we sometimes would walk along this parkway, and at night we would encounter this fountain, and the way the fountain was designed, you couldn't see the colored lights. So I'm this little like 3 or 4 year old boy, and all I can see is the water fountain, but I can't see the colored lights. And so all I can see is this fountain, and every few seconds, the color of the water from my viewpoint would appear to change into another color. And every time that happened, I would just start cracking up. I was like, normally I was like a pretty serious kid, little kid, but there was just something about the motion of the water combined with the lights and the changing of the lights that just touched my soul really deeply. Started laughing and laughing and laughing. And, I've also been a person where hydration is very important to me, and I'm very sensitive to energy. And one of the things that's been a real disappointment over the years has been the reduction in the quality, the coherence, the clarity, the beauty of the water. That, it's obvious to me that the municipalities are just putting more and more chlorine and or chloramine or fluoride and a lot of other things in the water, to the point where I think that's a big reason why people know they should drink water, but they don't. And so, anything that can be done to increase the quality of the water, I think is really, really important. And then as I went on in my healing profession, I, really had an affinity for some of the liquid formulations, some of the different specialized herbal extracts and homeopathic extracts, and I just always had an affinity for the water. And then over the years, all of these structured water products came out, and some of them I thought were better than others, but they were all really, really, really expensive. And so one of the kind of filters that I use as a healer and a teacher and a guide and a coach, when I'm filtering, what I want to recommend for people, it needs to work, but it also needs to be financially viable for people. It needs to be safe. It needs to be effective. It needs to be enjoyable to use. And I always felt like a lot of the water products, even the good ones, were really, really overpriced. And so I'm continuing to search out really affordable ways to structure water and to modulate the energy of the water so that the energy of the water is more compatible with human beings, especially with the energy of cells.
David, can you talk a minute to the effect of what you have worked on in the past, and currently, if you have anything on the market and what it's actually doing?
Right now, I don't have a particular water product on the market, but for the last few months, I've been engaged in research on different ways of working with water in different combinations. But I don't really want to talk about the details of them yet, but it has to do with the combination of exposing the energy field of the water to certain crystals and minerals combined with the motion. If you look at what happens to water in nature, if you look at the natural cycle of water, and you think about a rain cloud, and then the cloud bursts, and then the water comes down and goes through our atmosphere, and then it usually hits like a mountain or something, and then it starts to flow down the mountain. So if you think about what's going on in nature, especially when that water is flowing down the mountain, it's having contact with the earth and the earth's energy field. It's also having contact with all of those minerals. And then when the water is going down the mountain, if you really would look at it carefully, you would see that it never goes in a straight line, that there's always some kind of a vortex, there's some kind of a spin to it. And so I think it's important to recreate as many of those elements as we can when we're recreating water for ourselves. And then, of course, I think it dovetails with the work that you're doing, because if we can combine that kind of motion and that kind of exposure to the elements with love and with clear intention, I think it's amazing what we could accomplish, especially if we were doing that in the context of groups that were deeply aligned in spirit and in mind. I think one of the ways that we will bring forth a beautiful world that we all really want to live in is going to be through rituals of group intent. And I think the work you're doing is right at the beginning of that, and I think combining it with what you're doing with computers and the water, combined with the kind of work that I do with people, which is a combination of deep ontological coaching combined with really high quality individualized healing work. You know, to me the possibility of that triad is really, really exciting.
So that's interesting. On one front, you know, when I started this venture, you really just talk about the history of the water up until, you know, we'll call it the now, right? The formulas that are in there. I mean, so in my intellect and what I was doing, that stuff's already been figured out, and it can be worked on and worked with. But where I start is water prep, right? And I'm open to any suggestions, but my current line of thinking has always been to remove the memories and the programming from where the water is everywhere it's ever been, and returning it to a pristine state, thereby allowing, you know, a pure injection of the intent. Now, the intents are always static on purpose, right? I get the frequencies from where I get them. I create the geometry that brings those frequencies into fruition, but they're static. They're pretty images without the, you know, the engine running behind it and the water effect that really brings it into 3D. And at that point, that's where you punch that hole into quantum, and where your attention goes, the intention will go. So if I hold true to my current trajectory, how can your work possibly could be combined with what I've already done?
That's a great question, and it's one of the reasons why I like your work so much, because you do pay attention to clearing the water and also clearing the consciousness of the person. But there's so much more that can be done along those lines, like the work that I do, both the coaching work and the healing work that I do. A big part of that has to do with cleansing, clearing, creating space, and then of course there's other elements too. Of course, we have to provide the nutrients, the raw materials that, of course, spirit is going to act on. And then there's a lot of sophisticated things we need to do, like, for example, a liver cell or a kidney cell. Sometimes it has, the problem is not that it's toxic, or the problem is not that it doesn't have the raw materials that it needs, but this might be getting a little too technical, but sometimes the limiting factor with the liver cell is that somehow it's lost its fundamental sense of identity. It's lost its knowledge that it is a liver cell, as opposed to, say, a kidney cell or a pancreatic cell. And one of the things we do in our healing is we have ways of reconnecting the cell to its fundamental divine identity and nature. And I think that's an incredibly interesting metaphor if you want to look at people in general, and you look at those three elements. If you look at the clearing work that they need, number one. Number two, you look at providing the energies and the foods and the vitamins and the minerals, et cetera, that they need to be at their best, and then at a cellular level restoring the recognition of the divine blueprint of that cell. If you think about it at an individual level, you think about the ontological coaching work that I do. You know, ontology is a study of being, and so in ontological coaching we help people discover these limited or false identities, these ways of being that they've gotten so caught up in that they don't know they're being that way until they snap out of it. And then they can see what they were being that was limiting them. And so I see that triad operating on many, many levels, at the individual level and at the cellular level. And so I think there's a lot in my work that can augment what you're doing, especially like you were talking about in the area of clearing, because there's so many people that work with the idea of being clear about their intent, but it's very, very difficult for people to really go deep, deep into their being, into their heart, and really tap in to their deep, deep intent, not just more shallower levels of desire. And then once they tap into it, to be able to sustain that resonance. So most people have so many issues with regard to self-worth, resentment, shame, self-esteem issues, limiting thought forms, limiting identities, that it's very difficult for them to hold that resonance. And then it usually doesn't work out for them, and then they make up more stories about why it's not working out for them, and it ends up being a downward spiral. And so I think there's a lot that we could explore and do together.
So for instance, I want you to pick one popular topic, and I'm going to explain to you exactly what I would do either in a personal session or the Source 4 Aquaware or whatever, and how lightning fast I can get results. And then I want you to comment on how you could piggyback or combine the work that you're doing with what I'm doing. But I want to limit it to one topic. So pick a topic, whatever you want.
So one example I think that would illustrate what I'm talking about is, let's say somebody had the intention to win a big lottery. I'm sure you know that most people who win a big lottery, usually the next 3 to 5 years of their life is not very happy. And so that's not an accident. It's because they now are stewards of this much larger field of energy, this much larger sum of money, but their being hasn't grown into what they need to grow into to be a good steward of that. There's a lot of clearing work that needs to be done. So that would be an example about where someone could work with your technology, and maybe through Source 4 or something else, they could win the lottery, but it may not be exactly what they bargained for, and it may be more than they're ready to be a good steward of.
That's a really good example, and that's one that I never saw coming, because there's two facets to that. One, I do a lot of personal sessions with people, and besides healing energetically and then removing negative things in their life, money is typically 1, 2, or 3, no matter who they are. And I've been asked on a number of different occasions to reveal winning lottery numbers, which I can do. I've never done it, and I never will. And I'm breaking this down into 2 parts. One, the technology with the Source 4, and me personally working with you. The reason I wouldn't do that for anybody is, let's say, David, you're working with me for an hour. Dr. David, sorry. You're working with me for an hour. And you're like, Pete, there's a $400 million Powerball lottery coming up. I really want you to give me the numbers. I'm like, okay, go play these numbers, and you nail it. Okay? 3 things are going to happen, and I know they happen because I've done it on lesser venues before, and I've gotten severely burnt from them. Anyone that is gifted intuitively or has the ability to create something to help other people, once you use it for service to self, you'll lose all of it instantly. It's gone as fast as it comes. And what do I mean by that? Okay, let's say I can pull those numbers, which I can, and David, Dr. David, I give you those numbers, and you go and you win the Powerball. 3 things are going to happen. One, exactly what you touched on, right? You're going to win those $400 million, but you're not ready for it. So what happens? Your life goes down the tubes, and how you eloquently explained it. Three, the person that was originally supposed to get the money doesn't get the money, which creates a karmic bubble, a huge one that comes back in on me. And when it comes back in on me, I'm done. Okay, so the universe governs everyone that has talent with service to self, and it's a big no-no. So the universe has a whole category of unwritten laws that you just know about intuitively, and one of those is using any of your products you create for service to self. Now, all of my products work for me up until the time I release them, and then they stop working. So people always ask me, you use the Source, Aquaware, or any of the other ones? And I say, yes, I do. And that's not really lying, because I use them when I create them, and they work great, but then they stop. And I generally have an army of people that work on me when I need it on demand. David Shear's a big, Jason Davis, and there's a whole bunch of people that will use these products to help me in a way. When I'm doing an activation like we're going to be doing here pretty soon, it's okay. It's something like that I'm allowed to do. It's not a problem. So from an energetic session standpoint, that's something I would never do. I've done it before on simpler things, and I've gotten severely burnt with a stern warning from Source, and I won't do that again. Now, the Source manifestation software is a whole different animal. Okay, what people don't realize is the Source 4 changes your reality. Okay, it changes it. So in my belief system, you're on a current trajectory, and everything that's coming into fruition in your life is set based on a book of life. That's another conversation I'm not going to get into. But what the Source 4 does, it goes upstream in your future, creates in perfect harmony. If you were, for instance, using the Source 4 to create, the Powerball numbers, and you nailed them, none of this would come to pass, because what happens is it changes your future. Your consciousness gets changed to bring it into fruition in perfect balance. That's the difference between me using it or you using the Source 4 for something like that.
Well, I can't speak to that particular product because I don't have a lot of experience with it. I just know from my own experience as a person and as a soul, I just know that to whom much is given, much is expected. And that if you have a gift or a talent, that the people that are the most full of joy are the people that have found a way to honor that unique gift and to share it with the collective in a way that uplifts many, many people without martyring themselves. That they're part of that bigger picture and upliftment. And I think, I'm 59 years old, and I was blessed to discover my gifts as a healer and a teacher as a fairly young man in this lifetime. So I've pretty much been a full-time healer and teacher for well over 35 years now. And I think part of my longevity and part of the joy that stays with me is that I'm very centered and committed to honoring my gifts and having them be in service to something greater than my individual person self, and without sacrificing my individual self or martyring myself, but harmonizing with that greater whole. And I think another way of looking at it is that the more power you can wield, the more power you're given, or the more power you tap into, the more freedom you have, but also the greater the responsibility and the greater wisdom that's required to be a good steward of that gift. And so, I've had some students over the years, for example, who were having a lot of insights and a lot of revelations and opening up like that. And then it got to where I told them, you're going to get spiritually constipated. You're going to get spiritually gluttonous if you don't have a field of service that will allow an outflow so that what you're becoming is not only enjoyable to you, but it's also uplifting to the greater whole. And I just see how that works over and over again. And it can be a beautiful spiral, but most people in our culture have not been taught how to be responsible for that kind of tantric kind of a dance of energy.
Over to me. Yeah, I'm getting a brain fart. Why don't we just kind of hold it right here? Donna, you missed an important announcement, and I'll just do it for you. Something new we want to start doing on the MDM shows is helping someone per week. And, you know, as we're still figuring out how to do this tonight, I'm going to kind of let Donna quickly explain what we're going to do and how we're going to choose someone from the audience. Oh, you did? You did say that in the beginning? Oh, did you pick somebody? Did anybody jump in yet? All right, well, go ahead and announce them. Actually, you know what? Hold that thought. David, we're going to use the Source 4 technology quickly, and I want to do a massive activation for everyone on the call. And I've asked you in the pre-show to come up with what we're going to do. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, we're going to bring up the Source 4, and people will see this running on mine, and then I'm going to ask you, David, you know, what manifestations you want to do from everybody. And the first thing I'm going to ask you to do, David, is just kind of think about the manifestation without actually blurting it out yet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the geometry here for it now. So I'll ask you, David, to just kind of put your thoughts out there on what you want the manifestation to be, and then you're going to go ahead and explain it to everybody, and then I'm going to nucleate the water. Wow, that's a strong one you got for sure. Okay, so what we're doing. Oh, hang on, David. Just keep thinking about the manifestation. I'll cue you in a second. All I'm doing is just creating the geometry for the thought form, which we're going to blast out here in everybody's water in a minute. And it's funny because it's almost like building blocks. Donna, you feel that? I know you do, because I am. Okay, David, what I'd like you to do is just explain what your manifestation is, and then you can go back on mute, and I'm going to nucleate it. And, you know, where you put your attention, the intention is going to go into the water, and it'll explain the process of what's happening. Over to you.
Okay, Peter. Well, picking up on the thread about the lottery, what I'd like to do is to energize the idea in the thought form of all the light workers, all the good-hearted people in the world, to be able to access the maximum amount of prosperity, including finances, that they can be a wonderful steward of, that would be a joy for them to steward. So I'm going to turn it back over to you now.
Wow, that's an amazing manifestation, and this is going to be larger than I was originally thinking. I mean, I know Donna's going to probably faint during this one at some point. So, this kind of feels right. We're going to enter the source 4 in a second, and I'd like everyone, once I click the enter the source 4, where your attention goes, the intention will go. So everyone have your water ready. I'll count that backwards, 3, 2, 1, and I'll explain what's happening. Everything runs for about 48 seconds. There's 5 steps to it. And I'll explain what's going on. Here we go. David's intent, Dr. David's intention in the manifestation. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so water prep is running. We're removing the memories from the water of everywhere it's ever been, 8.1 seconds. Then we go right into user preparation. We are creating a thin veil in the water for 8.1 seconds. That goes into the subconscious mind as soon as you drink it and opens it up for acceptance. We are now pre-nucleating the water. We are setting the pre-nucleation. Now we're setting the light paths, and I'll explain this in a minute. And now we're going to nucleate the water for 18.1 seconds. That was an amazing manifestation that David came up with. I kind of put him under the gun. I was like, 2 minutes to the hour. I was like, you got to come up with one, and you're not going to know when I pop it. So we run for roughly 50 seconds. Okay, that's done. I'd like everyone to go ahead and drink as much of the water as they want. That one tastes way different. So what happens is when you drink the water, okay, the manifestation has been put into the water, it goes into the body, and the body sets the light paths, the rays that come out of the body. If you were to shoot this under Carillion photography, which we're trying to line up, you would see rays coming out of the human body. The universe source comes and grabs the manifestation, brings it upstream in everyone's reality, creates the light paths, okay, and the light paths are supporting the path, and the path is the distance by which the universe brings it upstream, and when you released it, and is creating that in everyone's reality. And Source 4 can do this in under 24 hours. It's mind-blowing. There's a lot of feedback coming in over the last couple of weeks. So if you want, you can go on the MDM website and read all about it. Donna, do you want to, I think a couple new ones came in tonight. Can you go ahead and read them, please? You're on mute.
Man. Okay, now I'm unmuted. Alrighty. Let me do this one from Dina. Okay. Well, I really need to make this font bigger. And I can't. Okay, here we go. Recently, I was blocked with a design project for a new card I wanted to distribute to uplift others. I tried 2 graphic designers who both said they would be interested in doing it, but neither one ever followed through. Because of a time deadline, I was feeling stymied. Then I ran a source program with the intention of my inspiration card beautifully completed. That day I was inspired to look at an online community publication. I searched for graphic designer and got just one hit, which had been placed more than a month before. Turned out the right one, though, and my inspiration card is going through the finishing touches with this creative, enthusiastic lady. Thanks, Peter, for this incredible tool. So that was from Dina Sarah Levine down there in Brooklyn. So that was one of them. Let me see if I can bring up another one here pretty quickly. Well, everyone, oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's do this one. Hi, Peter. I followed your advice. Started small. My first manifestation was a feather, a soft, nice feather. The same day, I found a black, ugly feather, and I thought, okay, it's a feather. 2 days later, I found a nice, white, soft feather in my garden. The next manifestation was to get rid of the murder snails in the garden, a very difficult task, which my daughter and I have tried with Aquaware 4.0. We have had less snails, but still some some every evening. Now, after using the Source 4, we've had no snails for the last 2 days, even though it's been raining. I'm convinced it is thanks to Source 4. I have only had the Source 4 for a week, and now adding it to my daily use of aquaware. It is so fun. Thank you, Peter. That's Eva in Sweden.
Thanks, Donna.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
You. David, can you describe what was going through yourself when we were doing the Source 4 manifestation, when you drank the water? And I purposely interjected this because I wanted you to sit back and experience it. So curious minds, inquiring minds want to know, what's going through you. Over to you.
Okay, Peter. Well, I'm very energetically sensitive, so what was going on there was I was holding the glass that had the water in it with both of my hands, and when I get into the flow of it, I feel kind of a universal pulsation through my whole body, but especially in the interaction between the palms of my hands and the water. And I would say the rate of the pulsation is probably kind of like now, 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 now. And it's very much the same as the pulsation that I feel when a patient of mine and I are in tune with each other and with the universal rhythm. And it just felt peaceful and enjoyable and kind of a silky kind of a buzz, very subtle. And then when you said just drink as much as you want, it felt right to have about 3 or 4 large swallows of it, and it just felt like that was the right amount. And I'm not real big on imagery and images and stuff. I don't do a lot of like dreaming and color, anything like that. I'm more of kind of a direct knowing feel kind of person, and kind of that's how it was for me.
Okay, cool. Thanks for sharing that. I just want to take a few-minute break from Dr. David and bring on the person, Donna, that you picked out, please.
Sorry about that. We've actually have 2 people from when I talked about it, and then since you talked about it, so can we do the 2? Would that be okay? Okay. All righty. Let's start with Barbara. Barbara was the very first one. So Barbara, let's see. I'm not sure what JB means. So JB here, I would ask for a total cleansing of ears, eyes. I guess that's of ears and eyes. I have great success with Source 4, and I want to increase my healing power. My hope is to make a difference. So cleansing of the ears and the eyes, that's for Barbara. The second one is Priscilla. And Priscilla says, I have been having pain on the right side of my body for over 30 years, and it's getting more intense. I would love to find a way to let go of all of that, to let all of that pain go.
Thanks, Donna. So as you were speaking to the effect of both of them, I came out with a really wild idea. Oh, I have lots of wild ideas, but this one's really cool. We're going to use the Source 4, and we're going to break it down into 4 and 4, and 1 will be the divider, and we're going to do them both at the same time to bring about exactly what they want. But then, David, when I get done doing what I'm doing, I would like you to do the short version of the work that you do on these 2 ladies to help get to the same end result. Are you okay with that?
I would be fine with that, and it's important that the people that you're speaking about are fine with interacting with me, because that's how I work. We would need to be talking to each other.
I don't think that's going to be possible. You mean, David? I don't. No, I need your work done. I don't know if that's going to be possible. Primarily because the technology we're using won't allow them to get on, and you probably don't want them calling you live. So let me go ahead and do what I'm going to do, and kind of think of a real short version, if possible. If you could just open yourself up and let the information feed to you. I don't know how you work, but go in your place of power as I'm doing what I'm going to do. We're going to shock and awe these two ladies here in a couple of minutes. Actually, we're going to do it right now. So David, just kind of think about that. Okay, it was Priscilla and Barbara, right, Donna? Okay, Priscilla and Barbara. Hold on to your head and kiss your butt goodbye. I'm about to rock. Oops, did I say that? Okay, I'm going to switch over to my screen. We're going to use the source 4. I'm going to load the starting array. Priscilla and Barbara, I want you to just put your attention on exactly what you want to manifest and how you want to bring it into fruition. And on the left is going to be on the left is going to be Priscilla. On the right is going to be Barbara. So Priscilla, just start kind of, putting your attention on exactly what you want to manifest. Now again, we're going to do 4 and 4, and then we'll use the divider to bring it out. Okay, cool. Priscilla, just put your attention on the manifestation. And again, this is just all intuitive. It's just really me connecting. Barbara, can you start putting your attention on it, please? Priscilla, I need more clarity from you. Right there. And Barbara, I just need a little bit more clarity from you. Okay. Priscilla and Barbara, we're ready to go. I'll count backwards. 3, 2, 1. Put your attention on your target water. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, Priscilla and Barbara, go ahead and drink the water. And I want you to kind of think about the manifestation, but more importantly, key into where the energy is coming out of your body and the effects that it has on you. And then a little bit later, you can post it, and Donna will read it back. We'll just give you a couple of minutes to come back from that, and then I'll ask David if he can do something. If not, that's fine too. Okay, David, over to you.
Okay, thanks, Peter. So one thing we could do in this format that wouldn't require a conversation is we could just look at some basic body symbolism. So for the woman who was wanting help with her eyes and her ears, some questions she might want to take into her private space would be, What haven't you been ready to see? What haven't you been ready to hear? What haven't you been willing to see? What haven't you been willing to hear? Those would be some questions she could take into her own personal private time. And then for the other woman who had right-sided body pain, the right side of the body is usually correlated with issues that have to do with more masculine energy, action, will, relationship to anger, assertiveness, the relationship to the father. And so, one thing that can be very, very useful, especially if the pain on the right side is anywhere near where the liver is to take a look at who or what, including herself, who or what in her life has she not been ready or willing yet to forgive? What resentment? And it could be from way back when. What resentment is she harboring that is very difficult for her to even think about the possibility? Hey, Lana, chill. That's our dog. When I started talking about resentment, she started growling. What hasn't she been willing or able or ready to release and forgive yet? What has she been in denial about in that area? Those would be some questions that wouldn't require a conversation, but might steer people into a very useful direction.
So we've had a lot of interaction with dogs lately on the show. I don't know what it is. They want prime time. They're stealing it away from me and Donna and you. Donna, can we see if we get Priscilla and Barbara to chat up? Anything's going on with them?
Yeah. So I've asked them in the chat for both of them. When you were asking for more information, I put that in the chat. But ladies, for both Priscilla and Barbara, I hope you heard Peter's question about, can you give us some feedback, and of course, how you're feeling and things like that from drinking the water, and what have you felt? Did the water taste different or anything like that? But also, just some of your things that you're feeling. And then, of course, one of the things that I just want to say to everyone, not just to these two ladies listening, is the beauty of this program is that you can always come back and redo the activation because the show is recorded. We're recording live every time we broadcast, so you can definitely have this live if you need to listen to it again. But ladies, in the chat, excuse me, there's always going to be a 30-second delay from when I ask you the question to where you hear it. So if you can chat in the YouTube where you've chatted before, just let us know. Give us some feedback. And let's see. Oh, excuse me. So while I haven't seen any feedback from either one of the ladies, but Kevin has a questions. Are you ready to take questions now, or we just want to stay focused on the two ladies?
Well, we can start with the Q&A, that's fine, but just direct it if it's going to be at Dr. Tony or myself.
All right, let's start with you, Peter. Peter, can you use the array on different intentions? And if you design, and if I design my own array for a specific intention, should I save it, and can I use it for different intentions in the future? If I understand what you have been teaching us, I shouldn't have to make the same intention more than once. Is that true? That's from Kevin.
That's a great question, Kevin. So the source comes out of the box with 10 preset arrays, or 10 arrays already created. I've used each one of them. I know they work. The only one that has been hard-coded with a specific manifestation is number 7. Number 7 is all about abundance. So if you use the other 9, you can use them for whatever you want. When you're creating your own specific array and you find one that works for you, you can use it for any manifestation. And I'm trying to stay away from the word intention because that's really geared and aquaware for. So yes, you can use it for any manifestation. So, you know, I tell people that the Source 4 works in under 24 hours, and that's what it's geared to do. I also tell people that they have to start off slow and work their way up to larger things they want to manifest. As you build confidence, as you get to know the software, you know, it gets to know you, things get more wild, and you know, other things start coming into fruition. They're seeing, you know, so when you're using the Source 4 tech, you can use it with the same manifestation up to 3 times a day until your manifestation comes into fruition. So, you know, I always, as I evolve and as the product evolves, and the manual is updated, and the manual's continually being updated, although you don't see it. When you go online, I'm always adding stuff or fixing grammatical mistakes that are in there. But as I evolve, so does the software, even after its initial release, okay? So where earlier on I might have said, well, you only got to use it one time, your manifestation will come into fruition. You know, even though I create the products, they're as new to me as they are to you. I am constantly discovering new things and how they work. And you know, when I do shows or I do this show, sometimes my purpose or what comes out of my mouth will change, geared towards, you know, how I've evolved or how you can best utilize the technology. So what I'm saying is maybe on an earlier show I said, yeah, you only have to use it one time, it'll come into fruition. Now I'm telling you, you can use it up to 3 times in a day to bring that manifestation in. One thing that we're getting reports on, and I have witnessed this myself, is when you're using the Source 4, after a certain amount of time, something is changing, and I have not nailed this yet because it changed to me, and I don't know what it is, but the manifestations are happening now without the software, meaning, you know, you could be in a conference call with some of your peers in whatever you're doing in life, and there's a certain solution that you talk about, and within 10 minutes that solution pops up. The manifestations after using the Source 4 are coming stronger and they're coming faster. Something is changing in people, and what's changing is the Source 4 is really transferring itself to you, and you become the benefactor or the manifestation machine and not the software anymore. Not a great business model, but it seems to be working pretty well. I hope that answers your question. Donna? Donna? That's you. Yeah. Dr. David, you have to start smiling.
Okay. I'm all over the place looking for questions and things, and so anyhow, yes. I hope that helps you, Kevin, and that should. If you have questions, folks, just put them.
I think Dr. David wants to.
David.
Thanks, Donna and Peter. I just wanted to say something about intentions. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk about when you're focused on something negative to learn how to pivot and switch over to something that's positive, and that's important. But I teach a second step after pivoting when it comes to teaching people how to intend. And once people pivot, I teach them a second step, which I call deepening. And it's kind of like going from the shallow end of the pool to the deep end of the pool. And I want to share with the viewers and the listeners the most powerful deepening question that I have discovered. So people might want to write this down. So this is to be used once you've pivoted from something maybe negative that you wanted to avoid or minimize or get rid of, and then you've switched over and now you been able to state your intention in the positive, now we go to deepening. And so this is the deepening question, and it's applied in relation to the intention that you now have, which we'll call X. So I'll give an example of that. So the deepening question is, write this down, what's most important to me about X? What's most important to me about X? So let's say, for example, you're clear that you want to manifest this particular Mercedes. So you would ask yourself the question, what's most important to me about having this Mercedes, or driving this Mercedes, or owning this Mercedes, whatever your intention is. And let's say that what you get when you ask that question is the feeling of quality, just the feeling of craftsmanship, the appreciation of quality as I'm in the car. So you get that, and then you can take it even deeper and ask the question again in relation to that. So then you could say, okay, well, what's most important to me about that feeling of craftsmanship and quality? And then you can keep taking that deeper and deeper until you get closer to the essence, the energetic and spiritual essence of what's behind the original intention. And I find that it adds a tremendous power, a tremendous dimension to your intentions, and it also opens the door if it turns out that the essence of your intention could be manifested in a way other than the Mercedes that would be easier and quicker or more enjoyable or more ecological. It opens up that possibility instead of being stuck in that one particular thought form. So that's a gift that I wanted to share with the viewers and the listeners. After you pivot to your positive intent and you have clarity about it, ask that deepening question once or twice or three times, and I think it'll really work for you.
That's an amazing question. I never looked at it like that. I wanna kind of shake this up a little bit and put you on the spot, David. When I first met Donna, we did a 5-minute interview, and we called it Donna. What was that called? 5 minutes with Peter Schenk or something. And I literally had
5 minutes with Donna. And you were my guest. 5 minutes with Donna. And then you were the guest on that show where we had a lot of fun and got to ask you some random questions about yourself. And I learned a lot about you there.
So we're going to do 5 minutes with Dr. David. And David, I'm going to give you a 5-minute cue, and I want you to explain everything about yourself from A to Z. Can you do that? Yeah, you can. Come on. It'll be fun. It's not like we're recording this and the world's going to see it. Oh my God, Donna, he's smiling. He's smiling. But I'm serious about that. You want to do it? We got 5 minutes. Yeah, come on. Wait. you got a timer? Spin up the timer on your iPhone and put it here. Make them more nervous. All right, I'll give you 10 minutes. And what I'm after is I want you to share in 10 minutes what you do with the world and how people can contact you and you utilize your services, via email or however you want to do it. How's that sound? Okay, over to you, David.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks, Donna. So, like Donna said in the original bio, I'm really about helping people to wake up and to really be in their joy and to find their unique purpose and talents and gifts and find a way to be in the world that really works for them and uplifts others, and to really be in a profound state of peace. And I think I'm like all of us. I think we really have a deep desire to pass on the things that we've learned from our own challenges and our own journey. So I'm going to take you back to when I was a little kid. And I grew up in Los Angeles, and I was the firstborn son of two Western European intellectual people, and they did not have a conscious spiritual bent. So even though they were very loving and kind and took care of my creature needs and really supported my capacity for independent thought and the value of education, they were pretty emotionally repressed and spiritually very ignorant, very, not very open. They'd both been traumatized in different ways by World War II and had a lot of wounds and a lot of scars. And I think when I was born, especially my mother, she didn't quite know what to do with me because, I was kind of a little light beamer, and she really didn't know how to meet that energy of mine. And I was perceiving things, I think, a little bit differently than most people, and it just seemed like there was something missing or something kind of off kilter with people and with the world. And I think my challenge as a young person was to honor that sense that something was a little off without getting super judgmental about myself or about other people or about the world. And I definitely slipped into that. Well, there must be something wrong with me, or there must be something wrong with other people, or there must be something wrong with the world or God, or gee, if there really is a loving God, how come there's so much suffering? And really, if we're all God's children, how come some people are so healthy and happy and successful, and some people are so unhealthy and unhappy and successful? And how come things that seem important to me nobody else is talking about? And how come so many things that other people think are important to me really aren't that important? So these were the kinds of questions that I was being with even before I really had the words to describe them the way that I'm describing them to you now. And that really, I think, what fueled my search was wanting, my journey was being on fire, having a burning desire to understand and know, and to try to reconcile, on one hand, my deep sense of love and unity and oneness and goodness with the fact that so many people in the world seem so screwed up, and how to make sense of all that. And so, living in that tension was really the driver for my own journey. And then 5 years later, my brother was born, and he ended up being mildly autistic, and that really affected the family dynamics and, the marriage, and my mom and my dad. And he ended up having special schooling, and he had therapy, and my parents went into therapy, and my mom decided to go back to school in that field. And so when I was a teenager, my mom was going back to school, and I remember going through some of her textbooks and her psychology textbooks, and a lot of it, I thought was a bunch of BS when it came to what was really going on with people. I mean, the behaviorism and trying to explain things through conditioning and all of that, it really left me kind of cold. But then, learning about some spiritually oriented psychologists like Maslow and Jung, that really rung a bell and started to open me up to bigger possibilities. And then, like Donna mentioned, when I was a young man I was about 19 years old, the year before, I'd had kind of a really rough year. I'd gone away to college. It was my first time being on my own, and I was in Santa Barbara, and I decided to use my freshman year in college to really expose myself to a lot of different people and ideas and kind of see what would hit me. And it was one of those really challenging years where no matter what I exposed myself to, it wasn't quite fitting, it wasn't quite satisfying. So I decided to go back to Los Angeles and regroup for my sophomore year. So I transferred back to UCLA. And as I transferred back, there was a really progressive program that was going on at the time. It was way ahead of its time, an undergraduate program that was cross-disciplinary called the Creative Problem Solving Program, and it really focused on teaching people how to be and think rather than memorize stuff. And through that, I met a lot of really cool people, and a lot of them had been exposed to the teachings of Werner Erhard, and so I got really interested in what Werner was teaching and got exposed to his work. And I don't know why. I don't know if it was because of past life preparation or the sincerity of my desire or whatever, but when I was exposed to his teaching, it was like my soul opened up and my consciousness opened up, and it was like this data dump from part of my soul into my conscious mind and into my brain and into my psyche and into my body. And all of a sudden, there was all of this knowledge that I had. And it was really weird because on one hand, I was still this really screwed up 19-year-old young person. But on the other hand, I had all this knowledge and all this information. And part of what I knew was that somehow over time, I would heal as a person. But it was really weird because I was going through this healing process from an awake place. It was really hard to describe, but I feel like I kind of lived my life backwards. You know, most people have experiences and they gain wisdom and then they awaken. Well, for better or for worse, my experience was very unusual. I had an awakening, a profound realization when I was 19 years old. And part of the realization was that I knew that I had a tremendous amount of healing to do as a person in my own body and in my own psyche, but I knew that this healing would happen. I had a total knowledge of this, and it was coming from this place of profound knowledge on another level. And so I'd always been a really good teacher, so I just naturally started teaching. It just started happening, and then I didn't know anything about the natural healing arts. And then within a few years, I found myself taking classes in different natural healing arts, and I found out that I was really gifted. I was like an empath in terms of energetic sensitivity and being able to work in that way, and I was always a good teacher, so that kind of started getting combined. And over the years, I developed my abilities as a spiritual guide and as a healer, and I experimented with different, well, maybe I should just be a healer, maybe I should just be a spiritual guide. And I experimented and found over the years that what really worked best was a combination of both. And then over the decades, I developed my own unique synthesis of those two things. And so right now, the way I work with people is, in the way I contribute, well, one way that I contribute is through our podcast series, where people can go to www.cuttingedgedoc.com. That's www.cuttingedgedoc.com. And there's really wonderful conversations. Every podcast is an in-depth conversation with someone that's doing cutting-edge work in the areas of healing or spirituality or social transformation. And one of the things that I've developed over the decades in these fields is not only a really good reputation for myself, but I've also developed these friendships with people that are really doing quality work. And part of what I'm doing is sharing these other people with the world through www.cuttingedgedoc.com. And then I post a lot on Facebook, so a lot of my ideas get posted there. If you go to cuttingedgedoc.com, you can read more about my bio and about my work, and also there's a favorite quote section. Maybe Donna can go there and maybe read a few of her favorite quotes if you go to cuttingedgedoc.com and click on favorite quotes. And then I work with people individually, both in in person and long distance over telephone and Skype. And then from time to time, I do group work where I work with people in a group setting, everything from like a half-day workshop to I've done as long as 3-day transformational intensives. And so I enjoy doing that when there's a critical mass of students that are really ready to take advantage of what I do. And I would say mostly I consider myself a student. And the more I learn, the more I have to share. And I'm always on the lookout for things that resonate with me on the cutting edge. And that's why I'm here today, supporting Peter and his tribe, because I really feel that the work that Peter's doing is just kind of in the infancy of an entire new way of working and way of healing. And I'm excited to be a part of it. And, if there's anything I can do to support you and Donna, just let me know. And I appreciate the exposure, the opportunity for more people to kind of get a taste of me and where they can go if they want to take a deeper dive. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, David. That was amazing. It's cool when I personally believe that personality has a lot to do with healing. And my wake up experience was vastly different from yours. I didn't know the world existed the way it did 10, 11 years ago, and mine happened at the speed of thought. And I didn't have any time to adjust to anything. It just was. So it's always cool when we get cutting edge people like yourself on the show, and you can kind of talk about your own experience. And to me, it's always amazing and mind blowing just how this stuff unfolds. And on point with your discussion about my work and where it's going, I have no idea where it's going, and I don't know. I don't pretend to know. But I will tell you, I have more fun now in my life than I ever had before I was awake. I mean, and I've told lots of people on the shows, that the first time I actually changed someone's life through something I created, it was like a drug. Best drug you can ever imagine. It's really indescribable, but you want that, and that propels you forward to do more and more and more. Where this is going, I have no idea, but I've always held true to the fact that as soon as it turns to work, I'll walk away, and I will. And it's not work, it's fun. But I also, go ahead.
Just to build on that, I was going to say, the thing I never get tired of, and it's probably you too, the thing I never get tired of is being in the presence or creating the space for when the light bulb really goes on for somebody, and they awaken in that moment. That, to me, I haven't found anything better than that. That, to me, is the ultimate privilege and kind of like the ultimate of true friendship, to be able to offer that space for somebody, a safe and focused space for somebody to awaken from the dream of the ego and the dream of separation, and to reconnect with real life and love and the heart. And I've been so blessed with my abilities as a healer and a teacher to have had that experience so many times, and it's something I never get over. It's always like the first time.
That's awesome.
Hang on one second, Donna. In my experience, it just keeps getting better. It's always the first time, but it's always the first time to the nth degree. It just keeps getting better. Go ahead, Donna.
So that's awesome, Dr. David. Great testimony. I do have your page up, and I want to read one of your favorite quotes. But the other thing, before we do that, we've got some questions in there for you. I have one for both of you. One for Peter, one for Dr. David. Let me start with the one for Dr. David. Cynthia says, what is the meaning of itching in the body which has been diagnosed as eczema? What's the meaning in the body? What's the meaning in the body in which the body?
Got it. So, the expression of being comfortable in your own skin, well, eczema is kind of like being uncomfortable in your own skin, your own image of yourself. You're being uncomfortable in your own skin. On a physical level, it's almost always associated with excess toxicity in the body, which is almost always associated with a liver that is needing support. So that's the area that I would focus on, and that's the short answer to your question. It has to do with that at some level you're uncomfortable in your own skin.
Okay. Very nice. So Cynthia, I'm sure you got that from Dr. David, and then Cynthia also has a question for you, Peter, and that is, Peter, please verify if I'm understanding correctly the use of the presets in Source 4. I have an intention I can use with, say, preset 1 or 8 with that intention to change my water. I can use with, say, preset 1 or 8 with that intention to change my water. So with her intention, can she use 1 or 8?
You want to use, sorry, you want to use array number 3, and you want to use it in the morning and when you go to bed at night, and you'll see the results probably within 2 days.
That's awesome. Okay, then I have another one, and this one was actually on Google Plus, and comes from Denise. Denise wanted to know, and she has, I'm going to read it like she typed it. I think it will make it much more fun. Can you do an activation to open third eye? Please! That's from Denise. It wasn't from me, folks. That was from Denise.
Yes, we can do that. Everyone get out a glass of water. This will be fun. Can you see my eye thing? I like it. All right, we're going to do an activation for opening up third eyes, and then we got to wrap it up because I fall off, and at an hour and 15 is my silly time, and weird things start happening to the crowd and everybody past an hour and 15. So we're going to do live activation. Everyone get out a glass of water. Okay, we'll reset the source 4. I'm going to use one of the presets in here to show you the power of it. We're going to use preset number 9 to do a third eye activation. Okay, cool. So I'm just going to hit it. I'm not going to explain anything, but things like, there's some things that are instantaneous, and third eye activation is more of an intent than a manifestation. And of course, Aquaware 4 handles, that's the 800-pound gorilla, but you'll see the effects using the source 4 in the third eye. So I'll click enter the source. There's no work involved on your part except where your attention goes, the intention will go. It happens at the speed of thought. You don't have to hold hands. You don't have to concentrate. You don't have to look at the screen. You don't have to sing Kumbaya. Where you put your attention, the intention goes. Ready? Here we go. This is third eye activation. 3, 2, 1. Where your attention goes, the intention will go. Okay. Everyone that wants to partake in the third eye activation, go ahead and drink your water now. Donna, you look a little inquisitive on that. Don't spit it on the screen. Okay, cool. We're gonna wrap this up. I just want to spend a couple minutes talking about a workshop coming up a week from Monday. This is a relationship and love workshop. This is something I've never done before. It's gonna be very, very powerful. It's gonna be eye-opening to some and revelations for others. We kept the price down on this workshop. I highly suggest you all jump into it. And again, you know, I sent out an email before. If you're having problems in a relationship, if you're, you know, don't know what unconditional love of self is, I'm going to show you exactly where it is in your body using sacred geometry. You know, if you're in a relationship and you don't love your partner, we can help you with that. If you go through the motions of the day and say, I love you to your significant other, and it feels more like just a repetition to say something, you totally need this workshop. You really do. This one is going to be on par with some or even surpass the other great ones that we've done. And I'm you know, referring to the chakra clearing too, which was actually the unlimited one. This one is going to blow the doors off. So again, you can get into it. It's going to happen a week from Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern, and Donna's going to be on time for that one, right, Donna? Okay, cool. Are you going to be like that? Okay, David, do you have any last words of wisdom you want to give the crowd before we cut the connection?
Well, I just wanted to invite Donna to share one or two of her favorite Dr. David quotes, and then just let people know that if they feel moved to explore my work further, that you can reach me through that website, through www.cuttingedgedoc, that's doc.com. There'll be an opt-in form there if you want to get on my email distribution list and receive some free goodies. And there's also a contact place for people to, the email will come to me and we can be in communication. And just want to thank Donna and Peter again for the opportunity to have more people find out about me and my work and to contribute to you guys.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you, Dr. David. And again, big shout out to Dr. David for hanging out with us tonight and bringing his wisdom to you, to all of you, and of course to us as well. So www.cuttingedgedoc.com. I found the quote, love always resonates with me. So I'm going to read your quote from you from the 26th of June, and it says, there is no kindness without justice. There is no justice without honesty. There is no honesty without respect. There is no respect without honoring life. There is no life without love. Love is a unique expression of the unity. And of course, that is Dr. David Kamnitzer, and with honor to Yeshua. So that was one that really, of course, struck out for me. And then the other one is imagine, imagine living in a world where money, food, and sex are in service to love. I am enrolled. How about you? I'm enrolled. Imagine living in a world where money, food, and sex are in service to love. I'm enrolled. How about you? That's wonderful. And I think that is also a great one to leave off on. Folks, bring the love. It's all about love, as we know. And then, of course, you have the love workshop, love and relationship workshop, that we'll be doing on the 27th of June. If you need more information, we'll be posting all about that. You can always go to my email, send me a message. I'm happy to send that to you. It is Donna at moderndaymystic.com. But definitely, if you want to connect to Dr. David tonight, definitely please do that. Please support his work and have him support you in the things that you are doing. That is www.cuttingedgedoc.com. All right, folks, I want to say goodnight. Peter, David, Dr. David, let's all say goodnight.
David, thank you. Donna, thank you, as usual. Same back time next week. Over to you, David.
Well, let me say goodbye the way I always say goodbye on my own podcast series. And we'll close with love and peace. Bye for now.